following example, I will show you an AlwaysOn Availability Group configuration for Microsoft SQL. The replication method used in this scenario is synchronous commit for the two servers in the primary zone and asynchronous commit for a third server in the disaster recovery site. The pros compared to a single instance SQL server or a replicated cluster is that you have a highly resilient environment with up to 5 synchronous active nodes. And the mirror nodes can be read from for high performance and local regional read access. This is not possible in a single instance or cluster environment. So in Paris we have the principal SQL server and a mirror SQL server in HA configuration, synchronously mirrored, and a domain controller. And in Amsterdam we have the disaster recovery site with an asynchronous mirrored SQL server and again a domain controller for resiliency. And in Berlin we have the reporting server querying the cluster to see which node is active in the environment. Let me show you a high-level overview of the setup. Here you can see we have the 3 different virtual data center zones, Paris, Amsterdam and Berlin. They're all interconnected using an Interoute VPN. This is a default feature, standard feature for the virtual data center. We use our own fibers, our own IP network and MPLS to interconnect all zones, and this is usable for free. This makes it very easy to build up a resilient environment with nodes spread over multiple sites because the interconnectivity is already built into the platform. So we have Paris, the HA environment, primary environment on the bottom left. We have Amsterdam, the disaster recovery site on the right, and from Berlin we run queries to see which one of the nodes is active, and we can run reports from the secondary nodes in this configuration as well. Now let me show you the real-life environment. So here we have the setup with the HA configuration in Paris, synchronous commit mode, and the disaster recovery site in Amsterdam, and the reporting server in Berlin. I can now open up a session with the reporting server. That's this machine. So here we are, we run the example reports from Microsoft on this cluster. Let me make that a bit more visible for you. So it's an example set of databases. I'll select any query. So we can see that the results from this query are coming from the MCDAG3 server, which is running in Paris. This is a synchronous replicated setup between these two nodes. So if I go to the virtual data center environment and switch off this host, it will automatically fail over to the machine running in Paris as well. So let me do that. This is the virtual data center environment that we're looking at. So I'm gonna switch off the secondary machine in Paris, and that's this host. Stop. Okay. So if I now go back to my monitoring platform, the machine will turn red in a minute. And if we then re-query the database cluster, it should get its results from the MCDAG1 server in Paris. Okay, now let me open up the SQL Management Studio so we can run some queries against the cluster. In an AlwaysOn Availability group, you have the option to read from multiple nodes in the cluster. This is specific to AlwaysOn Availability groups. This is not possible in a mirrored situation with 2 nodes. There you can only read and write to the primary node. But in this scenario you can actually read from the DR location, for instance the asynchronous commit replica in Amsterdam. So let me show you the overview. This is the listener, and we have here the availability group configurations, and there is one group defined here with the 3 servers, and this one is down. That's the one in Paris. But the primary in Paris is up and the replica in Amsterdam is up. So we can run a query against the database in Amsterdam. So this is the server in Amsterdam, as you can see, with the databases on top. So we take the example database that we used for this demo, open up the person address table, and run a query. And here you can see that you actually get results from the asynchronous replica in Amsterdam. I hope this gives you a better idea of what a networked cloud like the Interoute Virtual Data Center can do. Integrating an infrastructure as a service platform into a network like Interoute has done and owns gives you a few advantages over traditional infrastructure as a service platforms. The network is an integral part of VDC, and you can use your zones as if they all share the same local network. It really feels that way when you're working in the environment, and this allows for enterprise workloads to be built on top of VDC seamlessly. As in this example, you can build highly resilient sites across Europe, as well as our zones in the US and Asia. So thanks for watching, and give VDC a spin at cloudstore.interoute.com. Thank you. Goodbye.